We're okay. Thanks, Jesse. So welcome everybody to the March 1st, 2023 Caroline Town Board meeting. And I'll open the meeting with pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I guess I will offer opportunity for privilege of the floor if anybody wants to address the board before we get started. See no hands raised, either here or in Zoom land, so we'll move right along. And I've invited Joe Desimone from GreenSpot EV Charging to join us tonight. Welcome, Joe.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So just as way of background, we have a ChargePoint 2-port level 2 charging station here at the town hall. And so we had some issues with, maintenance and annual cloud services fees. So I learned about GreenSpot from the town of Enfield. I think you gave a presentation there, maybe Joe. And it's a different business model. So I wanted to see if you could, you said you had a presentation, so I will turn it over to you, and then I open it up for questions from the board, if that works. And you are co-hosted, so you should be able to share your screen if you'd like.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I have a short presentation and then we can open it up for any questions and answer.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Just bear with me. I'm just ran into some technical difficulties here.
Problem. I feel your pain.
And I use this all the time, and or just experience something I haven't seen before. But here we go. Okay. Well, I'm having issues with security trying to share my screen, so I'm just going to walk through it.
We lost you.
Wow. Joe, I just lost you. Hang on a sec.
The story. Sorry.
Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, take it away.
Great. Are you able to see the presentation? Should say GreenSpot on the screen.
Yep.
Great, thank you. All right, so yes, I mean, we work with municipalities throughout the region. I mean, we are based out of Jersey City. The company was started in 2014 by a property developer that had been in business developing residential real estate for about 2 decades prior to them launching the first public chargers in Jersey City. So they were building a building. They had an opportunity to get an easement to install the first public chargers on sidewalk, public curbside charging. So they took it upon themselves to get the chargers installed. And from there, they had a larger vision. And this was back in 2014.
Oh, can I interrupt you?
Yes.
We lost audio for about a minute. Could you just start over?
Rewind.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Like I said, I feel your pain.
No problem at all. So Yeah, so Green Spot was started back in 2014 by a property developer that was developing real residential property in Jersey City and trying to redevelop that area. And they had been doing so for about 2 decades prior to the 2014. And during one of their new developments, which was a residential high rise, they ended up getting an easement through the city for an entire city block to install the first public curbside charging hub that Jersey City had seen back then. They had 16 chargers. It was state of the art, at the time. And when they did that, the owner had a larger vision to turn this into a real company and start to expand. Since then, we've expanded to 9 states throughout the US. And primarily we're partnering and our clients are primarily public agencies like municipalities, but we also work with private clients as well. We are developers of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. The real estate development is still going on in the background, so there's a much larger organization that supports us. But our interest is ultimately to sell energy or electricity, and we do that through electric vehicle charging infrastructure. We do work with a lot of municipalities throughout New York. Us being based out of Jersey City, that's part of our region that we're the most dense. So you're right, we're working with Enfield, many of the municipalities throughout New York State, Granville, Florida, Cortlandville. We just won an RFP for Ulster County in New York as well. So we're starting to gain more traction throughout New York State and develop more infrastructure. So ultimately, you've approached us about a replacement, which for us, we're doing replacements like this all over the country because it's a big issue. There are a lot of people that have had mostly ChargePoint or Tesla chargers now in the field for a number of years. And over time, just naturally, the equipment breaks down and needs to be repaired. You mentioned that there are fees, which can be costly. And you're probably paying for electricity and that sort of thing as well. So Green Spot has a very different model, and I'll cover what that is. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we would replace that charger at no cost. We would maintain and operate it for you. And then, when you need more throughout your municipality, then we're there to provide that as well. So the agreement that we would eventually form and would cover at least initially that first replacement would allow us to develop infrastructure for more property once we get to that point. There's a much larger team in the background, and this is the core group that's focused on EV charging on a daily basis. So Eyal Schuster is the CEO and the founder, and I came on board over a year ago to help bring them out of COVID. COVID did a lot of damage to the EV charging industry just because a lot of people weren't driving at the time and working from home. So, a lot of companies took a little bit of a downturn, but coming out of COVID, things are much, much stronger. As you know, you're seeing electric vehicles and charging on almost every commercial. And it's definitely a booming industry. And as we could tell right now, electric vehicles aren't going anywhere. There's going to be more on the road as time goes on. We have other experience from financial companies like Ernst & Young, Janews, our CFO. We have a fairly large sales team, but the core focus and what we're really good at is construction. Based on our background in high-rise development and construction and general contracting, we have a lot of experience when it comes with working with utilities, pulling in additional power when needed, if it's new infrastructure, and then converting sites over like replacements in this case. Max Lamone on this page, he worked for Tishman Construction, which is a big construction company based out of New York City. And he was head project manager on multiple high-rise construction properties. So he really understands the process from start to finish. And we tend to excel in terms of deployment. And that's our focus because that's typically the hardest part. Just to cover some of our clients and some highlights on our client list, they're covered here. Half of these are private, half of these are public entities. LeFrock is a really big mostly residential, but they also have commercial property. They're owners and operators of their property.
Excuse me, can't see your slides.
Oh, yeah. It hasn't advanced. It's
If you're
just,
moving slide.
Are you moving the slides?
Let me stop sharing and share again and see if that works.
thank you.
More
Okay, so-
technical difficulties. That's okay.
He's giving a very clear presentation.
Also, just FYI, Jaya said that he could hear him the whole time, so it was just this.
Okay,
Mhm.
kind of suspect this much, right?
Okay, here we go.
Okay. How's that look?
Client highlights.
Yep.
Great.
We have a large portfolio of clients we're working with. The public entities that I want to just point out, Columbus, Ohio, we help them develop several DC fast charging and combo level 2 hubs throughout the city in collaboration with the utility company there. Boston, Massachusetts, we developed infrastructure for 2 of their smaller municipalities in the metro area, Newton and Brookline, where we've installed several public level 2 hubs. Via Rideshare also has an operation there. They have over half a dozen vehicles that they want to convert to electric. So we're providing infrastructure, and we also have a fleet program. So if the municipality has any fleet vehicles, or you're thinking about eventually converting them to electric, we can provide infrastructure and energy to fleet programs as well. And we're constantly competitively bidding projects as well. We just won Trenton, which is the capital city of New Jersey, late last year, and we hope to develop some infrastructure for them this year. And we've recently won several others, including, some that are in New Jersey, which you may not be as familiar with, but fairly good size, and we continue to spread and partner with cities. I'm going to switch a slide and maybe just check with you to make sure that it changed on the screen.
Yeah, not yet. You might need to unshare and then
I think
select
it's
the
moving
new.
forward
I
without the
don't know.
slides.
Oh, you got it. Here we go.
Yep. Okay. So you see demand problem on the screen?
Yep.
So generally the issue that we're trying to solve, and all of the EV charging companies out there are trying to resolve this issue, is the federal government is setting a target. They're saying by a certain date, we want 100% of the vehicles sold at any dealership to be electric. And that date typically is either 2030 or 2035. So the OEMs, knowing that that's right around the corner, they need to adapt to that quickly. They need to transition their gasoline vehicles over to electric, change over their manufacturing, and then start the dealerships and get the dealerships ready to sell more electric vehicles. They're big companies, so they're able to pivot quickly and respond to this demand from the federal government, and they will definitely hit these targets. The problem is that the amount of energy required to keep those vehicles on the road just won't be available. So we're going to run into situations where we'll have stranded vehicles and people fighting over chargers and that sort of thing, and it'll become a big problem. So things like the NEVI funding, which is from Joe Biden and his party, as well as several other programs that are running around the country, will help close that gap and get more infrastructure installed so that we can output enough energy to keep the vehicles in operation. Did it switch okay?
Yep.
Great. So that's where we come in, and the solution that we've come up with that we feel will help accelerate this, towards solving this problem, is by coming up with a creative way so that it doesn't require a major expense or even ongoing cost from the people that own the property. Because in order to do what we want to do as a business, we need the real estate. So we're partnering, we're doing all of the infrastructure, doing everything end to end. If you've heard of turnkey, it's similar to that. The only difference is we stay on board to operate, maintain, upgrade the equipment when the technology goes out of date, and then expand it eventually. We do all of this work included at no cost because we consider it to be an investment. We operate similar to a real estate developer, where there's typically a fund that you're using to develop that building or that infrastructure, and then you're slowly paying that off over time. The way that we pay it off is through the sale of electricity. So it's the cost of electricity, and then we have a small spread on top of it, which makes up what's considered to be a market rate, or what people pay per kilowatt hour to charge. People are very used to paying for charging now. And that has definitely started to change from a few years ago when people were charging for free and there were a lot of free chargers available. But people are realizing now that even if they do have to pay for charging, it's still cheaper than gasoline, and it's still an affordable way to own a vehicle. So we include the chargers, the engineering, we do the permitting, all of the installation. And then, like I said, once it's done, we operate, maintain it. We cover the cost of the electricity, either through, in this case, it would be a reimbursement because it's a replacement on your meter. If we installed new infrastructure and that happened to be on our own meter, we would just simply pay that account directly. We maintain it if it breaks down. If the modem or anything goes out of date on the unit, we upgrade that at no cost. And then one day when you need more, either at that location or others, then we can expand. And then, like I said, we also do fleet if you ever get around to converting your fleet to electric. The partnership here is that we are selling the energy. So we're sharing a bit of the profit that we're making back with the property owner, which will be the municipality, so that at least instead of cost, you have an actual revenue stream. So all of the fees and everything that you're paying ChargePoint right now stop as soon as we take over. And then no more fees or anything going forward. In fact, if enough people are using it, we'll be able to cut you checks. Those may start small, but they will grow over time. Our program builds over time, just like the slide. So we start with this replacement, and then maybe one day you need more, and we'll come back and develop the next location or further at this location. We do fleet, and then we continue to monitor the system for utilization, which is the amount of hours that the chargers are used per day. And then once it gets to a certain point, we know that it's time for more. And then in terms of our process from start to finish, it's fairly simple. On your end, it will require fairly little effort. We build an agreement that we're both comfortable with executing. Once that's done, we can actually start to spend money on the project. We'll start on new phase construction, especially doing a lot of planning and design work. For a replacement, it's very easy. We would replace that unit in kind. We would potentially look for an opportunity if there's enough power capacity there to actually upgrade that unit slightly to a faster level 2. So right now, your level 2 ChargePoint unit is probably outputting somewhere in the range of 6 to 7 kilowatts. We would install a charger that's outputting roughly 20 to 30% more per hour. So once the design is done, we go through an approval process, which has engineering drawings. Again, for a replacement, you don't need to go that in depth. And generally replacements take us less than a month to do, where new construction takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months. But if we did do new construction, the municipality would have an opportunity to review engineering plans before we begin. Once those plans are approved by the municipality, then we stamp and sign them. And then we're able to pull permits, hire subcontractors, and get ready to start construction. Once we're ready, we coordinate with the site host to get our contractors deployed to the site. And then if we're doing new construction, the process is very short, takes less than 2 weeks, and that site will be done. We'll get it inspected. We'll close out all the permits and everything that we need to, and then we turn it over to operations. We're monitoring your system, whether it's one charger or 100 chargers 24/7. So we know what's going on with your charger. We can respond to issues immediately if something happens, most of the time remotely. But sometimes we require some help on the ground, and we'll either work with the electrician that we hired to do the replacement or with the municipality directly. And then, like I said, if anything happens to it, we'll make sure that we dispatch our technicians to repair it and then expand it and upgrade it over time. And that's concludes my presentation. So I just wanted to open it up for any questions that you have.
Great, thank you, Joe.
Can I ask a question? I think you can hear me okay, correct?
Yep, perfect.
I'm Tim Murray, I'm on the board. I'm just curious about your source of electricity. Where are you sourcing the electricity? Is it carbon based? Is it solar?
It would just be our,
It would be just what we currently have.
yeah,
Okay.
So I've got a couple questions. My name's Kate Kelly McKenzie. I'm on the town board. I've had an electric car since 2018. I have level 2 at home. But so you guys would be, part of PlugShare and websites where people can find the chargers, right?
Yeah, so all of our chargers are published on PlugShare so that people can find us. And then we have our own mobile app because we own and operate our own network. So you can download our mobile app for free. That will show you where all of our stations are, as well as we have roaming agreements with EV Connect. EV Connect is our software provider. So you can see all of our stations, and people can actually use both types of stations through the same application. The application is free to download, and users can also either charge through the app or they can use a small RFID tag to start their charge.
So right now, our chargers don't get a lot of use. Is there a minimum amount that you need to have to maintain and keep the chargers there?
No, there's no minimum. We believe that the infrastructure needs to come first. So whether it's a small municipality or a large one or a private property with 100 residents, people won't feel comfortable adopting EVs until they have an option. So, you're lucky to have a charger at home, and many people that have single family homes with a garage or even without a garage will probably have their level 1 or level 2 hooked up and able to charge at home. But everyone else, if you live in multifamily, if you don't have a garage, then people are going to be looking for options. So, we do believe the infrastructure comes first, and that's why we're willing to do infrastructure even in small municipalities that maybe don't have a lot of electric vehicles yet.
So say it breaks and somebody calls and says, hey, I can't charge it. This has happened a number of times on me. So, and I've gone to a place and been like, this has been broken for 3 weeks. And they're like, well, somebody called in, said it was broken. Then we have to put in a request in, and it takes a week for someone to get out and go, oh yeah, it's really broken, and figure out why. And then they get back to us, and then we have to send out a technician. And it takes like 2 or 3 weeks before something gets fixed. So what's your turnaround time on fixing something? That was mostly with level 3s, I will say that. So that's, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think it depends on the issue. We have open charge point protocol software and hardware. So it's called OCPP compliant. And the benefit of that is that we're able to send commands back and forth to the charger through API. So as an example, as long as it's still connected to the network, then through its cellular SIM card, then we can send commands to it. We can reboot it. We can start charges, stop charges. If the plug gets locked in place, we can unlock the plug for the customer. And we have 24/7 customer service, so people can call us at any time. And then there's somebody that's there to respond. There's a lot of things that they can do from the computer, our agents. And if it gets escalated to tier 2 or 3, then my own operations team is handling that. So we would see as well whether or not we could fix it remotely. We may contact a point of contact at the facility to do a power cycle for us where the power is shut off and turned back on for that unit. And that just gives it an extra bit of reboot and reboots the entire computer. most of the time that's going to fix everything. Now, and that will be done in a fairly short period of time. We're talking 24, 48 hours. Now, if it's a bigger issue, like say somebody runs over the connector and the connector's broken now, or they drive away with it, right? And it rips the cable out. That's a much harder hardware replacement. So that may take longer. And mainly that's because we have to rely on the manufacturer's technicians to come out. And of course, we need to pay for that. So there's a process that we have to go through. We have to get a quote. There's invoicing, there's check requests. There's all sorts of things that we need to go through internally to make sure that we're paying for that and we're documenting it properly. So it could take some time, but we'll be in close communication with you throughout that process, and we'll be able to let you know what's going on regardless. So, our goal is definitely to keep the stations running, because as our business model is, the only way that we can recoup our investment is if it's running and people are able to use it. So it's in our best interest, and that's why we think that our business model is effective, because as you have situations right now where the unit's not working, that's a big issue across the country. Roughly 25 to 50% of the chargers that are publicly available are not functional. And that's a big issue because the companies just don't have it aligned with their interest. They're in the business of selling hardware and software. They're not in the business of actually running a network.
Thank you.
What are the primary requirements to go to a level 3 charging?
So a level 3 charger, there's a lot of things to consider there. Mainly it's the type of property. So level 3 have a lot of downsides when it comes to operating them. And the reason is because they demand so much power from the utility that you end up with a extremely high demand charge, whether or not you've actually even used any bit of that power. Because, say that charger outputs 180 kilowatt hour, the utility company is going to recognize that, and they're going to start charging you on that 180 kilowatt hour, regardless if anyone even used it. So, and if people use it, the problem is that your revenue will not be able to pay for the electricity unless it's a very, very heavily used location. So a lot of the NEVI funding is covering DC fast chargers along the major highway systems. And we are looking for every opportunity to utilize that NEVI funding, because the only way to really make the financials make sense, especially for an operator like us, is to get a portion of the investment covered, because we know that it's going to be a matter of time before we're able the utilities catch up with the market. The carbon credits start spreading across the country. Right now, they're mainly in California. Eventually, we definitely expect that to be in every state, but we think it's going to take some time. So, in the meantime, we are strategically placing DC fast chargers, but we're primarily doing level 2s because we believe that's what people need right now, and making sure that they're conveniently located so that people can use them.
And for those level 2s, you just need like 200 amp, 240 single phase service.
Yeah, so they run on, the unit you have probably runs on 100 amp circuit, two circuit breakers, maybe 50 amps each or 40 amps each. So it would be a 208 volt 3-phase service.
It's like a dryer outlet.
No, he just said 3-phase,
Oh, 3-phase, okay.
right?
Yeah, there are ways to use single phase. So if you only have single phase, we can convert that. But either way, as long as it's 208 volt, it'll work. And we can even use 480 and step that down if needed as well.
Okay, but we don't need the service entrance at 3-phase. You put in a phase converter to get your.
Yeah. And in fact, some of the chargers, we have units also that work on single phase. So if that's the only thing that's available, then we can install that type of unit there.
I guess maybe I should correct myself. We wouldn't need to get the phase converter. That would be part of your installation because you're standing for the equipment.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, we cover all of the cost.
We just want to be sure.
Yep.
Just let you know, there are no level 3 chargers in the Ithaca area.
Yep, we're aware. We, our closest municipality would be Cortland. So we're not doing any DC yet for them, but we're developing several level 2 hubs for them as well.
I mean, there's level 3, there's in Bath, I guess that's on a highway, and up in Geneva, there's some level 3s. So you kind of limp along in Western New York to try to get to Buffalo. That's where I drive to.
Yeah, I grew up in Syracuse, so I used
Now,
to, and I went to school
there's-
in Buffalo.
There are some near Dunkin' Donuts out west, which way is west? West. And they have a $10 connection fee.
Yep.
Which
So like,
pretty bad,
just
actually,
to
because
use
it got,
that
it got logged
$10.
off by mistake and I ended up paying that 3 times for.
So can I ask just one more
So, yeah.
follow-up question?
Yeah.
I could probably
I
repeat
mean,
that.
we gotta.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta look.
I just wanted to know, one of the things, Joe, as I recall, it's a 15 or 20-year commitment, is that correct?
Yes, we do ask for a loan commitment, but the reason is, and you mentioned this yourself, like right now, a lot of people are not using the chargers, right?
I understand the reasoning, I'm just wondering, is there any escape clause to that at all? Or a penalty if we were to terminate?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's 2 things that will allow you to terminate with no penalties whatsoever. One is if GreenSpot just stops providing service altogether for 30 days, you'd let us know, give us notice. We'd have a certain time to remedy that situation. If we can't, then, terminate the contract and just walk away. The other one is if we go to business, of course, you have the right to terminate as well. And then the other one would be, we ran into situations with, people that own property, especially with the flexibility if you ever want to sell it or redevelop it or something like that. So there are clauses in there for transferability and also whether or not that new owner even wants the chargers. So if they don't, then, they can pay a fee and then we would come out and remove it.
Great, thank you.
So, Joe, I wanted to ask about, I think there's a provision, so you mentioned potential for expansion on the host property going forward. Is that just, would that be defined as all host property or, or is it just arbitrarily defined in the initial agreement somehow?
Yeah, so is the way that the agreement works is that it's assigned to an entity, a legal entity. So as long as the municipality has the same legal entity overseeing all of your property, then that contract would act as a master agreement where once we have one agreement in place, it's very easy for us to add more properties to it. So maybe we do this replacement here, and then you say, hey, we have these other properties we want you to take a look at, see if they qualify for the program. We'll do an analysis and give you a proposal, and then we can start to expand. And then, that would also cover the starting location as well. We install this replacement and maybe a year or 2, we start seeing a lot more utilization. And then we'll actually recommend at a certain point that you may want to allow us to develop more and install another 1 or 2 based on usage. And we can provide the data and everything behind that as well.
Great, thank you. Catherine, did you have a question?
No, I mean, I have a lot of questions, but I also feel like we just need to move along
Okay.
in our agenda. So I don't know if, do you have material, like, have there been like materials provide? Did I miss something? Were there materials provided that I was supposed to?
No.
Okay, so I guess I'd love to see like some materials and information and. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with Caroline or like, obviously you're working with Enfield, so that feels like a comparable, but to be honest, like hearing the, size of some of the places you've worked with, I think there's some like particulars, right, around like expansion, in my mind, would not necessarily be the same entity, right? If we had a charger here, then we have a charger, let's say at like Fire Halls in Burtondale or Speedsville, and we have, like, that's not town property, right? So I think we just would have some particulars about how that would work, but I don't want to take the time now necessarily to talk about it. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm understanding correctly, the entity in the
So-
contract is the municipality, so
Right, and
expansion in our situation, we don't have municipal properties all over the town.
right,
We have roads.
So we need to like,
So,
you know.
so one option, just real quick, and I understand we're on time here, so, so if you own any of the sidewalk space, that's also an option. So some of the towns own the sidewalks. Some have parking lots or, you know, other properties. If you don't, then if you want to make introductions to, you know, either a nearby village or the larger city or municipality, that, or the county, we're able to work with them as well. And an introduction would be appreciated, and then at least we can develop more infrastructure throughout the community.
yeah.
I
And
mean,
I think it would be helpful to like have more specific tour of the town
Yeah.
to see what we're
I
talking
mean, I
about
think-
here.
you know, where we have like a cluster of housing, you know, that's where it would make sense to have these because.
Introduce the guy to Bruno.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
all sorts of options. I think it's great. I, have an electric car myself, but I just think we need to talk
Yeah.
about like
Just behind
the
that.
more things.
yeah,
Yeah.
expansion, so,
Sounds good.
great, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. And yeah, if you if you want to forward any sort of summary information about it, that'd be great. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I'll definitely send over the presentation and some more materials that you can use to make a decision. And then I think it's also important, maybe to start reviewing the agreement as well. So I'll send that over to you for the replacement. And then at least we can get that started. Feel free to make comments or redline the contract. And then we can work back and forth till we feel comfortable.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thanks.
Thanks so much, Joe.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right, so we'll move on to the highway superintendent's report.
Let's see. I guess I got a few things, but first I kind of have a little question. Is there a huge issue with what we have out here now?
Is there what?
Is there some kind of big issue with the charging station we have currently?
Yeah, so it's not communicating.
And then second, what do we actually charge for power?
Well, we set it at 30 cents a kilowatt hour, so.
So we make nothing on it?
Well, it's
Because the
depending
rates
on,
right now are
it's
crazy.
depending on usage, so that's why we're having this conversation, so.
I just needed a little clarification for
Yeah.
the 45 minutes we just.
Yeah, 30 to 35 cents is normal. You can,
Yeah,
I can get it for
it's-
free in some places still.
It's set at 30 cents a kilowatt hour, but the head is not communicating. So charge point, that's an equipment issue that they would need to address. They would charge us for that because it's out of warranty. We've already, there's an annual cloud services fee, so it's become, I think we need to look at a different, that's why I brought this forward.
All right. On mine, next week, I'm going to Albany for 2 days to lobby for more CHIPS money. That'll be next, Tuesday and Wednesday. Not a whole lot going on, we've, tackled a few storms, nothing real big, so, I'd like to say it's a boring month, but it's not really boring, but there's nothing new going on. It's been strictly been kind of taking care of mice and stuff like that, so. We're not putting something together to replace the one ton that we have. That was another budgeted item. Trying to narrow something down so we can get, numbers kind of. Hopefully numbers a little bit more on the solid side, so. I'll have some more stuff. I think we're gonna wait and do some highway stuff on the committee side. Unless you wanna do it now. Like I said, my report was
It'd
kinda
be
short.
fine to talk about it now if you'd like.
It's fine, we can tag right in,
Yeah.
with mine, it's fine.
Sure. Yeah.
So, me, Mark and Cal sat through some interviews. And again, I think there's, if you want to take that part of it.
Yeah, so we finished the interviews with the 4 firms and I've shared 2 of the videos, you know, I'll share more information. We need to. So yeah, I think certainly within the next month, and I would, you know, within the next couple weeks, study those. And compare notes and come up with a plan for next steps. If we want to, you know, make a shorter list. And maybe have an in-person interview. So I think it'll depend on what the consensus is about how the current proposers fell out.
I have a question about like how the process works in terms of public meeting, because it's not, like, I was just gonna ask like, oh, how do you have any like clear winners for you thus far? And then I thought, well, maybe is that not appropriate for us talking about? Are we talking about this in these meetings in terms of our feelings about the outcome, but it's like, it doesn't.
So I think evaluation of the proposers is, you know, that's exempt from open meetings. That's something we should discuss privately.
Right. So like right now we have 2, I'm saying like right now we have 2 videos and I'm not gonna ask right now, we're not gonna talk about them right now because we haven't received.
No,
all of them.
I'm not expecting any
Right.
conversation.
So like,
Yeah. No,
okay.
there's,
just
you don't have,
clarifying.
you don't have what you need yet. We just finished the last one a few hours ago. So
Okay.
I'm just saying, just trying to, I'm offering sort of general thoughts about
Yeah.
where we
The
go.
process, sure.
This is a super big deal. And you know, they understand that, we understand that. I mean, I'll just say generally, I thought all 4 firms did a pretty fine job.
Great.
And so I think, you know, we need to look at what they gave us and compare notes
Okay.
and plan.
Make a decision. I think we told all of them that they would know by the end of March if they've been selected or not. That's my recollection.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I think nothing's written in stone, but that's our goal.
Yeah, it's not written in stone.
Okay.
I think.
I mean, I don't think it's, I would think that would want to be a reasonable.
Seems reasonable.
It's not, I mean, it's not like we gotta
Right.
cash it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Well, I think also I would prefer, it's just personal, like that we get this done and moving before we're taking up zoning. Because otherwise it's gonna get swept up personally.
Well, I mean, I would think that probably we'll be in a position at the business meeting
Yeah,
In 2
to
weeks.
discuss
Yeah.
these 4 presentations. Probably my hunch is that we'll either be able to make a decision.
Yeah.
Either to select one or to bring a couple of back. I personally think an on the ground meeting would be helpful regardless before we make any commitments.
Mhm.
So,
Sure.
you know, I've been looking at all this stuff. I can't imagine. I mean, I think it would be potentially very likely that we'll be able to make that progress within the next 2 weeks.
yeah, good.
And I would be happy to share some of my opinions once I have them over email to facilitate, you know,
Right.
moving along.
That would be great. Thank you.
Yes, we should. It's just, you know, everybody will need time. We've got 4 hours of.
Yeah,
And of course, you know, we need Bobby's input as well, so if you're comfortable with that.
Yeah, there's one thing that was kind of brought up multiple times. And it's something that I brought up in the beginning, but would kind of like to stress it. Again, and I think it'll be extremely helpful down the road is. There's been mention multiple times of an actual committee, regardless of who's selected.
Sure.
You know, I know that it's nice to say that we can all be that committee, but when it comes down and being realistic. With the open meetings, you know, we would never get anything done, so I think that once we, as a group, pick out what firm we want to move forward with.
Yep.
I would actually. I guess my proposal is that I'm going to head that committee.
What I guess what I would propose is that to formulate this committee, we follow the process that we've followed for other committees and putting out a call for applications or to get a sense of who might be involved, and then with all of our input, put that together and make the decision about who would actually chair the committee at that time. You know, I'd hate for that to get us, to distract us from this particular, I think it's just the next stage. But probably everybody is in agreement that we need a building committee too.
And then I think as a group, I think we need to set some time aside because I think there's a few things that needs to be discussed amongst this group before any other group. I mean, I think there's some things that need to be kind of set in stone before we go too far. I mean, right now, my opinion right now, we're not too deep to back up just a little bit. And again, we can talk about that in a week. We can talk about it whenever after everybody who watches some videos, you'll know a little bit more what I'm kind of talking about. But if everybody can kind of maybe open up a little bit of time in the schedule where we could get together for, say, an hour. Sure. Or something like that, just to kind of narrow some things down. And make a few things a little bit more kind of organized, I guess is a good word for it,
But you can be with us in executive session next week, right? Like that's, right, so,
In 2 weeks.
or sorry, I meant.
I mean, I
next
can't
meeting,
in
2
2 weeks,
weeks.
that's,
In 2 weeks.
You can't, you're not there.
that's why I can do this meeting, because I
Okay,
run a whole other meeting.
okay,
So I can.
so it needs to be separate from,
So
So this is-
maybe we're gonna have to have a special meeting.
I was just gonna say that, this is a case where it would be perfectly justifiable to
okay,
call a special meeting, and it could just be, you know,
works. No, as long as it's like not during like daytime working hours, I can totally do it, but I can't do them in the middle of the day. I mean,
okay. It is difficult.
and it's fine if we, like, it's fine with me if we're not all there. We just need to
That's right.
decide, like, I am like, really know nothing about highway. I'm not gonna pretend I do. So like, I don't,
Well,
I'm fine not being there, but I think that if we're gonna have these meetings where like the whole board is supposed to be there, like I work and I can't do it
Yeah,
during the day.
that's
Like,
understood,
just-
and that's understandable, and that's true for other people, so. But the other thing, as Tim said, you know, we should, you know, feel free to,
Like, we should have executive session next meeting, I think all of us, absent Bob, unfortunately, and then we'll talk about the candidates, but then in
Yeah.
addition to that, it sounds like we
Yeah.
need to have a meeting with you.
And if,
Talk about
from my
Bob.
point of view, I don't know if you're comfortable with this, Bobby, but if you wanted to share with us by email some of your perceptions of the interviews, that would be helpful for our discussions.
certainly one on,
Yeah.
one, or whatever. Yep, so,
It's exciting.
that goes to the end of the meeting, so we'll have a discussion, in executive session next week for sure. For 2 weeks, so good.
One more thing, kind of I'm going backwards a little bit. See, about 7 months ago, we ordered replacement fireproof doors for the highway barns, and they actually showed up 4 days ago.
Yay.
So we are currently looking for contractors who can put them in.
Well,
They're blurry doors, they have to be. They're not just a regular door,
can't just
they gotta be concreted and everything else.
screw them, yeah.
But like I said, it took 7 months, but we got them. As I said before, the ones that are currently there are completely rotten and have huge gaps and the winds going through the place, so.
Yeah.
So is that hard to do? I mean, is it hard to find someone to do that? Is that what you're saying?
It's been a little bit challenging. So I got one more guy, hopefully can meet with him next week, so.
Is there any way that we can facilitate that?
As far as.
I have my tools.
No, I don't
Mark's
know,
gonna-
assisting with you're trying to get contractors or anything. Like that.
I have a pretty good feeling about this one, they're more into the kind of the industrial end of it, it's not, just a regular homeowner contractor, so. These guys have done them before, so.
Good.
But it's a little over the scale of the guys, down there, if it's a regular door, we could have them thrown in, but like I said, these are actually concreted in, the door jams and casings and all that are concreted, so.
Great. Have to check it out.
Great.
But other than that, that's pretty much it. Cleanup week will be the last week in April. Snow pending, but if it looks like we're gonna get a blizzard, then we're gonna have to postpone it. Sure.
What I heard on the radio coming over didn't sound bad, unless I heard.
The last week of April, was the 28th. So
Oh, then, oh,
then,
sorry, yeah.
not now. Yeah, 28th, 29th.
We
Yeah,
have,
that's right.
we have plowed snow one day and did jump cleanup the next day, years back, so. Fingers crossed we don't get a snowstorm, but if we do, then we'll have to postpone it.
Yeah.
That's the tentative plan as it is every year, so.
Okay,
Such a good week.
Hmm.
It's such a good week. Really did.
The good part is, some neighboring towns have it the same day. Or the same week, which is nice because we don't get extras.
Oh,
Normally we get some extras that temporarily live in the town of Caroline. So hopefully we won't get the extras this year, so. Last year, if we didn't know what it was, we, nicely asked to look at driver's license, like a bill, something that said you actually lived in Caroline, so. In years past, it's been pretty bad with, some folks from Indica, truckloads and truckloads and truckloads.
Really? Wow.
We didn't, want to micromanage the whole process, but we have to at least make sure that it's, town works is what's for, so.
Sure.
Have some good stuff in there.
so, a bunch of our neighbors are doing it all in the same week, that you're saying,
There's a few, not all of them,
Okay.
but I know, I think Berkshire's having theirs.
okay,
I think I read that tonight was Berkshire's was the same week, so. Not really sure if Richford's doing it or not, but.
good. So we talked about it earlier today, but you feel like, did you hear anything about that cruise or get back to,
No, not by the time we got to the meeting.
okay,
Today, so.
anything else? Questions for Bob?
No, that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, no. Great, okay, thanks, yeah. And Dan's not here tonight, right?
Could you have those pictures from the pre-K?
Something I walked out with, but I will bring them up. I'll get them to Jesse. We went to the school. And
Saw that.
kind of did a little show and tell with the pre-K class.
It was so cute.
Aw.
And they were actually nice enough to make us kind of some little photo albums with all our pictures and stuff in it, so. I was gonna bring them up tonight, but I walked right out without them into that meeting, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
I'd
I'll
like
bring
to
them
see
up,
those.
and I'll get them to Jesse, so that she can put them on.
I saw what was on the Facebook page. It was really cool.
It's really great.
They must have been excited.
I'm sure there's some neighbors there that are a little worked up, but, pre-Kers and air horns are,
Oh, they let them do the air.
we let everybody climb in,
That's great.
showed everybody how everything worked, and
Aw.
it was kind of the big ticket item, so.
I bet.
Probably some people that are tired of air horns, but it would be a couple hours. so.
That's all right.
Too bad. That's awesome.
All right, good, thanks, Rob. Community reports,
Zoning, should we do zoning? So the second public hearing was last night. There's a zoning committee meeting next Tuesday. And my understanding is that they're going to discuss the two public hearings. So I don't know, what will go from there. I think I mentioned the last time that I would imagine the very earliest we could conceivably get something would be at our next business meeting, but I don't know if that's gonna happen or not. But I think it would be helpful amongst ourselves in the meantime, just, and Catherine brought this up, I think in an email as well, to start mulling over a process for us and how we want to tackle this. So we don't get bogged down in minutia when we don't need to. And clearly, we're gonna need to have separate working meetings, depending upon, you know, how things go. And I've been thinking about it a little bit and also just thinking about how, having walked through this process for 2 years, 20 to 30% of the document is boilerplate, so I can't imagine we'll spend too much time on that. Definitions is huge. If we tweaked any, I can't imagine it would be. But what I would recommend that we do amongst ourselves, though, is think about first, maybe big ticket items that either the public or you are concerned about. And then we can parse some of those out and just get an organizational structure about how to proceed. If it could well be that if we tackle a couple of these up front, it could end up then helping determine the amount of minutia going forward after that, depending upon what those items or concerns are. But I think if we could just start sifting out some of the concerns, at least we'd have, could begin to get a sense of an idea about how we could, you know, communally approach this. As opposed to just walking through it page by page by page.
Oh, yeah.
The zoning commission has done just tirelessly, so I'm anticipating that we will be able to, for the purpose of coming to the point of making some kind of a decision, not repeat the process from the beginning.
I would think probably, I mean. Seems like we'll start with each of us kind of comparing notes on what we think and then creating a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good approach. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's a good way to start.
Thoughts, other thoughts?
Is it, or do you have any comments right now about the hearings, or is it appropriate? I mean, I have some thoughts to share about the hearings, if that's okay, or that's not what we.
I mean, if it's about the content of the law, I think we should still, you know, be patient for another month or so.
No, it's not about the content of the law. I just think, I feel like it's a pretty momentous occasion that we've completed these
Yeah.
public hearings that,
Absolutely.
you know, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
Well, just share, I mean, I wanted to thank the zoning commission for doing that. Like, I think they did a really great job with the hearings. I wanted to thank the public really for coming out, as particularly the one last night I thought was notably productive, honestly. And I think that people came with kind of thoughtful comments that were, you know, for the most part, very much professionally delivered. And I think we were able to hear a number of comments. And you know, I think it's frustrating for people to not get feedback, I guess, and I share that too. So I thought I would just share briefly some comments now, if that's okay, about the process. Like, I heard a lot of comments about a number of different things. So I've heard that, you know, people feel that Caroline zoning, it really isn't so bad, that people feel like reassured that, you know, undesirable outcomes are unlikely to occur. I've heard the concern that perhaps like without zoning, undesirable outcomes may be more likely, and that's a fear. Also heard concerns related to, you know, some really legitimate, I thought, like change of use issues, which could arise for grandfathered non-conforming uses in particular areas that came up last night. Concerns related to the overall heft and complexity of the law and its implementation and enforcement. That was like a theme. Certainly a comment which is kind of more personal to me around the agricultural community's feeling about it, and continued concerns about the water resource overlay. I think there was a particularly compelling concern based on like experience very close to home, unfortunately, like in Danby, you know, around the possibility of zoning ordinances being kind of a disappointing hindrance to people. So I just think if it's helpful to share that, like, I hear that and we all hear that, but I'll speak for myself to say that, like, I hear the concerns, I take them seriously. They matter, all of them matter, and the people who made the comments also matter. Yeah. A milestone that we're done with these hearings, so just wanted to share that.
Thank you. I also want to, just express my appreciation to the work of the zoning commission. They've been really, they've worked incredibly hard and have tried to be and have been very receptive and tried to listen and understand people's concerns, and I think they still are. So, yeah, and I agree. I think we're all listening and we're about to have to roll our sleeves up, so here we go.
Yeah.
I will share any thoughts that I have later, so. But thank you. Yeah.
And
It's hard to
I'm
know.
sure that next Tuesday for the public that's listening, I'm sure that the zoning commission will discuss the issues that came up in the past in those 2 hearings. I'm very confident that they will do that, as they've always done.
I'm also thinking that, before we roll up our sleeves, I want to go back and reread the answers to the questions that they wrote out. I haven't read them for about 6
Yeah,
months now, I guess, and just have a cup of tea and start reading, so.
that's also a good idea. Thank you.
Great. Still on, so.
And I'll just mention one other thing. Nan continues to be willing to work
Oh, great.
through this process. And so when the time is right, we can decide how we want to best utilize her assistance.
Absolutely, yeah. Great. Is that your report, Tim?
That's my report.
Okay.
I'm happy that maybe this will be almost one of my last zoning commission reports.
Could be,
Yeah,
We'll see.
you've got one more
We'll
probably.
have to see.
Yeah.
no, you have one more.
Yeah.
At least one more.
Yeah, so. Other updates or,
So tomorrow, the municipalities in Tompkins County that applied for the Safe Streets for All grant are getting together to talk about implementation and the next steps that we're going to do. And I know there's a public, part of the plan includes public input. So I've reached out to people who are interested in that. I still don't know what that input looks like. Like, it's an actual committee? Is it just give me ideas? I'm not sure. They're gonna hire, we're gonna have planners. So, and there'll be a specific plan for Caroline made, not just kind of like broadly the county, that here's some ideas. It's like specific to the town. So, I'm excited about that. The other thing on the broadband committee. Dryden is moving along with their project and getting, trying to figure out how to do billing, things like this. Actually, they're connecting houses and businesses, running into easements and things like this. So, which is expected. So, and then we had a chance to talk to Jason for a while at the town get together in New York City, and that was really productive. It was really interesting to hear him talk about how they organized it. And so we talked to the infrastructure bill in 2021, just to recap, put lots of money towards rural broadband. Then that money at the federal level got given to the state, and the state made a program called Connect All. And Connect All has all these prerequisite things you got to go through to be able to get the money. They had a couple pilot projects around the state, 6. And I talked with a guy who's the head, I've got his name right now, the head of the Connect All program. And he said that, and he's gonna be meeting with Jason and Dryden, and he said that what Caroline is doing and with Dryden is making us, like perfect for the next pilot that they're gonna be working with. So that was really, really exciting to hear.
Yeah,
So hopefully we'll have more news
Mhm.
soon.
It's great.
Yeah. And have we
So
heard-
we have internet to support our charger.
Right.
When he's like, we'll just call and do it remotely. Do you need internet for that? Just wondering.
Yeah, so anyway, so that's good. I mean, it was interesting talking to other towns, people from other towns, they have the Swiss cheese problem, where they got like internet and then there'll be holes, right, in the rural areas because the companies don't want to put the optic fiber into those holes, especially up in Adirondacks. So, yeah, that's what we have, right? I got talking to somebody up at Saranac Lake. So they were actually very envious of us being next to Dryden.
Huh.
So, yeah, so that was really interesting. Dryden's doing a great job, and so somebody asked me like where we are on this, and it's still gonna be a while. We still have to get Hunts to finish the plan, and then we can start to build out towards kind of gonna go from Dryden out that way. So, but it's how's Hunts? Have we got that figured out?
I did get the insurance document.
Oh, great.
So I should hope, we can
Okay.
get that to the county tomorrow, and
Right.
Ryan did give us an outline of
Okay.
the plan, so, and that is, that will be moving forward.
Great.
This year, so.
And so, and I was gonna call Anna Kellis, I just wrote that. Okay. All right,
Great.
Good.
Thank you.
Forgot about ag. I guess we should do ag. Cal, do you want to do ag?
No, you,
So, exciting things are happening. So, because our next meeting is actually ahead of the board meeting, so I should announce the next ag meeting is March 9. And that's gonna be here and we will be able to Zoom it. A couple of updates. So our big, initial gathering and event for the, farmland protection plan, like launch and process, which involves surveying people who are involved in ag in the town and really getting a kind of a needs assessment and assessment of what people want, what people are doing, what people foresee they might be doing with their ag practices in the town. Monica, Erica and Will are in particular working really hard on this survey. They have it almost finalized and they will come to the March 9 meeting with a more fleshed out proposed agenda for April 6th, which is the event that we are planning. There was a little announcement of that in the quarterly, so every household fortunately did get that. And it's open to anyone. But we really hope and expect that people who come are going to provide a lot of input and feedback and really participate in the information gathering. And that's what's gonna happen on April 6th.
April 6th is a Thursday, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's at the BCC, right?
yes.
Yes.
like at 6 p.m. or
Don't have a time yet that I know of. Do we have a
put a question mark?
Yeah.
to be determined
Yes.
evening. But the other announcement in terms of communication with ag, if people are interested, we've split up communication into 2 different channels and 2 different Google groups so that the working processes of the committee are not necessarily everyone doesn't need to know all the different things that are happening with the working group. But if you want to be included in communication around ag in general, we have a new Friends of Caroline Ag list, which is a Google group. And so if you are interested in being put on that list, you can email me directly and we will make that happen. So.
Great.
Anything in it?
No. So. I'm sure Mr.
Oh,
King
yeah.
can tell. Julie
Oh,
requested a sign for the Caroline History Room. And she's been working on.
What's
that
the,
different,
do you know what the measurement is across, or
no, I don't.
how big it is, or, okay, I'm just curious.
So she wanted to know if the town would pay for it. I think it brought up, for me, it also just brought up an issue of signage in general for the old town hall. If you're not a resident, you could pull into the driveway and where's the court? Where's whatever? So, but anyway, back to this. Because I think if we get a sign for the history room in the court, might say, well, we'd like one too. I think that's a good point to remember. Maybe we'd even want a third sign that says Caroline Meeting Room,
What is it made of?
wood
It's wood, okay.
carved, $550,
Ooh,
made by a company in Perry, New York.
But you
I
don't
know
know
where
the
that is.
size? You don't know the size?
I can easily find it.
I mean, I'm just curious if we could have a local,
About this big.
I'm just wondering if
Yeah, like Mary Beth, there's
if Mary Shelley might be able to do something like
whoever,
that.
yeah,
for
you know
the same-
more.
Say roughly the same price. I don't know. It might
Right.
be
It'd be nice
lo-
to have a local person
might be
do
lo-
it.
It might be,
Yeah.
lo-
And Voight? Doesn't he do, what,
Well, yeah,
I don't think it does signs.
no,
No, this is kind of a specialty.
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
This sign is made by the same person that made the sign for Celebrations.
well, Perry's right near my grandfather's farm.
Yeah.
Right. It's not a bad place.
The other, Cal alluded to it, but, I mean, you know, we don't have our signs anymore that say what the offices are in each
Right.
one, and I was wondering if it makes more sense to have a single sign that, you know, directs people appropriately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, signage is,
Yeah,
Be nice, and it doesn't mean, I mean, maybe this could go somewhere too. I am thinking ahead about I would want it to, if it's gonna go on the outside, I want it to fit well with our
mhm.
historic, plans.
I think this sign is historically appropriate.
You saw one back in the day?
Yeah, there's some old photos, so. I think this sign is like, 30 inches by, something like that.
Yeah,
So anyway, but.
something like that, you know, it's always, it
But I think it just brought
can
up
be moved
the
and
whole
stuff.
issue of signage and maybe
Yeah.
even just cleaning up the front, the court's drop box, if it was something that was inside. I don't know, it just, sometimes it looks a little funny.
Isn't there a song about signs?
Everywhere the signs.
Yeah, so anyway,
I'm not touching the quick draw box.
I could ask Julie to come in 2 weeks.
I mean, one of the questions that I have, Cal, is whether we want to integrate this into the broader discussion of, of redoing the town hall, or whether, I guess it just depends on what the scale of this is.
Right,
This summer, the Tompkins County History is doing a visit out here, and she thought it'd just be nice to have, versus our little sandwich board that's put out that says, history room. And this is something, if when we're redoing the outside, it would just be a couple screws holding it up, then it could be taken down while we're working on the exterior of the building. But there is just the issue of signage for the whole facility. And I think maybe this for me just kind of sparked that.
yeah, it's a good catalyst for that.
Yeah. That's the word. Thank you.
What was that, Catherine?
I just think this is like a good catalyst for just signage generally, like I don't know what the urge, if there sounds like there's some urgency for history room before I visit this summer, so like I understand there's like, we want a nice sign, I don't know that we need a $550 wood carved sign just for that event, but like at the end of all the historic preservation, it does seem like that would be the
Yeah.
icing on the cake, a little bit of like all the signs.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm all for it. I just think it's a good catalyst for more like,
Talk and
coordinated.
exploration.
yeah.
Okay, meeting we had with the court on the 16th. Do we want to talk about that?
Actually,
Is that
I
personal?
did, I'm
executive?
glad you brought that up, because I forgot about it. So I sent everybody the bench or the file cabinet.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
heard anything, Cal, about a confirmation that those are the, or anything?
That they're just, deciding these are the cabinets they want and they just need a resolution to go ahead and purchase them. So, and Susan has COVID.
Oh, she does.
No. But anyway, that's,
Judge Bar.
excuse me. I stand corrected. So,
So my if we can offer, if we're ready to pull the trigger, I would say, let's offer resolution now to buy those.
Yep.
And get them ordered. If I don't want to jump out in front of, things, but if that's where we are, I think we should do it now.
Yeah, I think it's worth, they're about $1,000 a piece. We need two.
And they're copacetic with this, I mean, that's the only issue, that we have their final sign off on these cabinets.
I think so. Go ahead, Cal.
Your
Say your question again. Kim.
Do we have their final sign off on these cabinets before we order them?
That's right. That's what I'm
I
wondering.
don't want to order a thing before we have their final sign off.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Are
they,
you uncertain?
no, I just think they order them, and we just, okay, here's, yes, we will approve the voucher.
That's fine.
And, we developed a timeline for, this gets done. One of the things, a couple of things that came up, they requested that the room be painted, repainted. It's been about 35 years. And there was some talk at our meeting about security. That if we were to have a security inspection by the courts, we would probably fail.
I continue personally to be very interested in developing the security system for the space in cooperation with and in partnership with the court. I would very much like to move that as soon as possible. That's going to require collaboration.
Is that, or, I mean, what Mr. Shapiro said at the meeting is that with their documents not secured in there in lockable cabinets, they're out of compliance. They would fail an audit. Is that what you meant?
Well, they would fail an audit for them, but also just things like within the space, they like seeing the security camera system.
Right, but I didn't hear
Let's
that.
start with them being in compliance with their individual
Yeah.
files. Yeah,
I didn't hear that was an audit issue, though. I did not hear that. But I mean, the security, I mean,
Right,
It was like inspection or if they were.
Yeah.
Audits the right word.
well, it just kind of, went off into other things. But, to get secure cabinets, rework the room.
Sure.
The court clerk requested, like now when she's working there, the top half of the Dutch door is open. Jesse has something similar, or not something similar, but the glass partition where somebody can slide something through and under. And you can talk through it if it was possible to work something like that there.
If a door can be designed to do that, sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was
I mean,
thinking.
it's a door, so it's not a window, Jesse has a window.
Yeah, or, the panel can get taken out of the window and a glass thing with a, a little speak through thing and a little.
this was a discussion with Diane just the other day, and you and her, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what she has in Danby.
Well, if Danby has it, we've got to have it.
Well, I guess,
Not to be outdone by Danby.
every day when I look at the paper, the horrendous things that happen. I just, and I don't, there's even things like the way the door is hinged. Supposing there's somebody goes ballistic, if the door was hinged the other way, it would be much easier for somebody to scoot out the courtroom. That was just one. And it's not a huge
Well,
thing.
that could be a code issue. I mean,
Yeah.
those are code issues.
Yep.
Okay, so
Let's
do we
get
need
the
to make a
cabinet.
motion
Yeah, let's
to
get the
pay for
cabinets
this?
taken
Get the
care of.
cabinets?
Yeah, that's a,
So
start with cabinets, and then if there's some other
Cabinets and
security
painting.
issues, I mean,
Do we need to have a motion for painting?
Catherine making a comment or?
okay, no, I mean, like, I'm just saying, if there's other security issues, I don't.
Yeah.
I support, I'm like in support of this conversation, but it also seems like probably consultation with like a law enforcement, like someone who has expertise in this could be like, there's some assessment of what we have and
Yeah,
recommendations for what we should have, with all due respect to Diane. I mean, I don't know that like, I want a thing that looks like this is necessarily how we should dictate our security practices.
But this is beyond where we started.
Like, this is not what we're
I have
talking
to
about.
finish what we started.
Yes.
So I will offer
Yeah.
a resolution to authorize the court to purchase
Cabinets.
the 2 file cabinets that they identified.
correct.
Without further, as soon as they wish.
I second it.
Second.
Seconded by 3 other people. In discussion, all in favor,
Aye.
Aye.
opposed, great, thank you.
Success.
Yep,
So Cal, just have Diane bring me the voucher before the next.
got it.
Who is it? Me and Cal? Cal and me? Who's it? No, you and I are usually together, so it's our turn.
Surgery.
It's our turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about painting the plate, the room? I mean, because that was brought up at our,
Just paint them. Just tell them to go get yellow paint and paint.
Thanks, Bob.
So-
I appreciate Bobby's,
I'm just making this easy. If I'm painting my office, I go get a yellow paint.
Wash the walls first.
And it's done. So.
You clearly don't work at Cornell.
appreciate that.
And then here's my feeling, Cal. I think it's fine if they want to have the offices painted. Richard painted the hallway
yeah,
for the court, but that shouldn't be, that shouldn't.
yeah, I think they feel like they gotta clean out and rearrange a lot of stuff, as long as you kind of got things disrupted, hey, could we paint it?
Well, yeah, but who's we, like,
We paint it, could we have it painted? I do not think Susan, I don't think Justice Barr and Justice Reinbold are going to paint it themselves.
I'm with Bobby.
Yeah. Have it painted.
I mean, come on,
Okay,
personally, I'll just
Yeah.
speak for myself, like, this is like, let's move.
We can have Richard paint the office, right?
Pardon me?
We can have Richard paint the office.
yeah,
Yes.
Sure.
That's a reasonable thing to do. But it's
We can
required.
get a couple gallons from the reuse center.
But
It
this
would be that
would-
really weird.
This would require coordination.
There's literally
Yeah.
a method.
I suspect he has gallons or something left over from doing the hallway here.
Yeah.
This does require coordination and a schedule
And a key.
and a key.
Isn't there a new painting technique and a splash?
All right, well,
Moving along.
you gotta do a vote on the, for,
Cabinets, yes.
We did,
We did.
we did
We
it.
voted on it.
we did,
We voted
we
on
did vote. It was
Oh,
unanimous.
I just,
Yeah.
she just got
Yeah.
the second, so
No, you're good.
Unanimous.
It was a Wendy.
You're
one
too
vote,
intrigued by
but it did happen.
yeah.
Are we good there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Please forgive my meanderings.
It's good.
I would like to offer a resolution that I mentioned, just a procedural one for the stormwater contract with Soil and Water.
Mhm.
Before I forget, so I'll offer a resolution to approve the 2023 agreement with Tompkins County Soil and Water for stormwater plan review services.
Second.
Second by Kim. Any further discussion? No further, all in favor?
All right,
Opposed? Great, thank you. Ah, okay,
Jesse.
is there anything else? Okay,
Oh, nothing. Go ahead. Sorry.
okay. So we'll hold off on minutes for the next meeting. And
No, sorry.
No. Sorry.
what did I say?
The apology owed is to you.
Jesse said sorry.
Oh, okay, so so for the next meeting, we'll have the discussion amongst ourselves about the highway project. I would like to, but we'll see how it goes. But if everyone's comfortable by, say, a week or 10 days from now with introduction of the battery energy storage law, I will try to dig into it in the next few days.
Mhm.
But, we all need to be comfortable with it before we introduce it, so.
Do we have to send that, do we have to send that to Guy also? Is that right? Has Guy seen it?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, if you look at what I sent you, so if there's his comments and everything, so.
Okay, great.
yeah. So there's those two items.
And do we have a public hearing for that? Next
Well-
meeting, or is next
That-
meeting, we're gonna just talk about?
We could just decide when we want to have the public meeting then,
Okay,
so. Public hearing.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Think of anything else?
If the zoning draft is handed to us next week or next
No,
meeting, is there some ceremonious, like what do we do? Do we just like receive it? Do we do anything?
So
about it at that
They
meeting?
will,
Know about the ceremony?
I don't.
Oh,
They
my
will-
God.
zoning commission will have to come to a point.
Yeah.
When they're ready to do that. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but they will do that by a formal resolution. But
Okay, so
will-
they introduce it.
They will do
Okay.
that. And then when they do that, they'll be passing it on to us.
Right, and then they will cease to exist. They will just like
Right.
disappear into dust.
But I mean, that could happen at next meeting.
No, they will have a party.
I don't see how that would happen.
I don't.
You don't
Because
think so?
they're gonna be working at the next meeting, so I
Okay.
can't see how they would.
Okay,
I'm just in my own head.
yeah, no, I'm just wondering.
So,
I would imagine that could happen the following, the agenda meeting,
But on April
the
1st.
April.
The
agenda
April.
meeting Conceivably,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
But I don't-
have they said, so the zoning commission you said meets next Tuesday, right?
Right, I don't think they're scheduled a follow-up meeting.
Okay, that was my question.
I don't think so. I think they're literally working this stage one step at a time. So I don't know, you know.
Wait, but you're saying, I'm sorry, I missed that last part, that there's,
Well, I'm just thinking of potential schedules.
yeah,
I would be shocked if we got something next week.
by the 15th
Yeah, so. At the earliest after that would be the agenda meeting.
of April. Okay. Okay,
So,
They
yeah,
could shock us. I mean, if they, if they gather together on Tuesday
great.
and have an efficient meeting, they could decide they were done.
Yeah,
So that's not, I guess we shouldn't say it's inconceivable.
yeah, I mean,
Maybe it will
Kinda
happen,
thinking.
maybe it will happen.
but there's nothing that takes up our agenda. The reason I'm asking,
No.
it doesn't matter, they would do the resolution, they
Right.
give it to us, and then like, we don't do anything with it at that meeting, so it's
I
not
would-
an agenda.
I mean, I would assume they might want to present it at the meeting,
Oh, like presentation.
like a presentation.
Okay.
Yeah, because what they're giving us is they're not giving us a law, they're giving us a report.
Right, right,
So the report is,
yeah.
Right. So that I'm sure they will want to make the report.
right. Exactly.
Gene would
that
probably
would be
make the
cool.
report.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking for agenda reasons,
Yeah.
like, is that taking up the, an agenda item next time or the time after? We just don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, as long as they let us know in advance, we can do that, so. Great.
Cool.
I mean, let's put it this way, we'll know next Tuesday.
Okay, and then we'll know. I mean, the agenda's not that big for next time anyway.
If not, no, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
give
What are
me,
you good at?
give me a heads up if you think of something, so. Anything else? There's nothing else, I'm gonna call for adjournment.
Do we need to go in exec for? Do we need to go into executive session?
For an
Follow
update
up
on the executive session topic last time.
Last time or not?
I don't think so.
Nothing new.
Nothing new, okay, okay.
Okay, so there's nothing else. Offer a motion to adjourn. At 8:37,
You got a second from Cal.
seconded by Cal. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye,
Hi.
opposed?
Post.
Good for you.
You stay here then.
You can paint the office.
Okay.
I got some bright blue porch paint.
Yeah, you better be careful.